Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivy Organics, where we grow cool plants and author of Saving the World with the Home Garden. And today we have the honor and privilege of being here with avocado expert Carlos de la Torre here in South Florida, specifically Miami. And together we're going to discuss several topics, including how to grow and care for avocado trees, tips on how to grow avocados from seed, grafting avocados and some grafting tips, avocado tree death, and some of the common reasons that cause avocado tree death, including laurel wilt, sunburn, weather, and drainage, soil, so forth. At the very end of this video, I'm going to have a link to the Grafting Avocados YouTube channel. You can simply click on that link and it'll take you to Carlos de la Torre's YouTube channel, where you'll discuss all of these and so much more. And also, be sure to also include your comments about what you liked most about this lesson and what you'd like to learn more about, so that Carlos and I can hopefully answer your questions and hopefully build additional content based on your questions that you put in the comments below. Without any further ado, the floor is yours. Carlos, thank you so.
Good to see you, Charles. We've spoken on the phone before, but we never had the opportunity to sit down and have a good conversation.
We have been in contact with one another for many, many years, and this is truly an honor and privilege.
I remember when we first talked, I had some of your product and I was going to use it. And then we got hit with the Laurel Wilt crisis in Florida, which is like 10 years old, and everything got sidetracked. So during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to use your product on this mango tree that we have right here. We're sitting next to it, because I had a project on this mango tree, which is to cut it. It was about a 4-inch, 5-inch trunk. So I cut it. I was going to graft on the water shoots. So I needed to have the integrity of the tree safe and protected from the sun. You see, this tree sits here and the southern exposure is right there, and the sun would have burned some of the trunk and would have compromised some of the water shoots. So I used the product, and amazingly, all my water shoots came out. I had no trunk burned, and I wound up grafting about 12 varieties of mangoes on these trees successfully. So this is a super cocktail mango tree with 12 varieties of the latest mangoes, like oranges, juicy fruit,
oh wow,
pineapple pleasure, and so on. All the latest varieties are on this mango.
Sounds amazing, and hopefully we can include additional details, and we'll take a tour within the tree and check out those labels. Before we begin, can you share a little bit of background about your experiences and your knowledge and your involvement with the University of Florida extension program next door, and just share a little bit of background about yourself and your avocado expertise?
My avocado expertise comes in about going back like 24 years, when I bought the 20 acres where I have my avocado grove, and I didn't know anything about avocados back then. I mainly, my background was like finance, but I always liked agriculture. Every day of my life, I would always have agriculture around the house. I would plant trees, I would graft trees. So when I got my 20 acres in Homestead, it was really enjoyable, because I had the time, because I kind of retired very early. I had the time to spend the mostly all days, or 3 times a week, depending on the season, in Homestead, learning about avocados. So all the experience that I have, I've gained from my own experience. There are no books. I mean, yeah, you could have some books, but one thing is the books as it applies to, let's say, California, and one thing is our rocky soil that we have in Homestead, which is really ground rock with a little organic matter. I do close cooperation with University of Florida, the tropical station, which is like 1-minute drive from my grove. So I continuously let the students that are studying plant pathology and doing plant experiments into my grove. I let them set experiments, and we have a very close cooperation with them, as I feel it's very important to be helpful to the next generation of plant pathologists. because our diseases are so various and we are constantly getting hit with invasive species that cause a lot of damage to our woods, to our groves, to our food production capabilities. So this next generation of plant pathologies are really a challenge to come up with the results. And as the older person that I am, I feel like I need to help the younger generation gain some experience.
No, I really appreciate it. And I've truly enjoyed all the content on the Grafting Avocados YouTube channel that you've been sharing for many years.
And it's interesting. Some of my earlier work, which goes back to 10, 11 years, 12 years ago, there was very little grafting videos in YouTube back then. So I started doing them for that purpose. And you'd be surprised. I even got emails from people so far away that I didn't even know that they exist. I got one email from a guy in Reunion Island. I said, where is Reunion Island? I Googled it, and it's a little island in the Indian Ocean, like 1,000 miles away from Africa, in the middle of nowhere. And this guy, sent me an email thanking me because he was able to preserve some of the local avocados that did well. He was able to graft them and multiply them using the material in the channel. So I'm very happy for that.
Before we delve deep into avocados, out of curiosity, aside from we know you've got avocados, 20 acres orchard. Additionally, I see behind us we've got a row of mango trees that you're enjoying here on your property. Are there other fruit trees that grow really well here in this tropical Miami climate?
We are subtropical. We are not fully tropical. We are subtropical.
Okay.
So we can grow a lot of stuff with some challenges. Like I have some mangoes, and these are not commercial. These are for family and friends, the mangoes. I also have a nice collection of non-commercial avocado varieties that we use for ourselves, family and friends, I call them. And we also have some anonas. We have sugar apple, atemoyas, and you can basically grow a lot of this subtropical climate. We just gotta wash when it gets cold, and then we could lose some, because if we push too much on that boundary. For example, soursop, which is Annona muricata, it really is, we're in the borderline. If it drops below 45 degrees for too many hours, it totally defoliates, and if it drops a little bit more, they'll die. So I lost 2 of them last winter. So we can grow a lot of stuff, but we like pitaya, dragon fruit, passion fruit, a lot of things we can grow here.
So now, when it comes to avocado trees, there's a lot of people planting avocado trees and then they sometimes die. I know there's challenges in the first year or two. If you want to explain what those initial challenges are, and then challenges, obviously, I've noticed on your YouTube channel, you're taking out some very productive avocado trees that are over 10, 20 years old for other reasons. If you can explain what are the early challenges and then what are the later challenges with avocado tree health.
The early challenges for most people are excess fertilizer, too much fertilizer burning the roots, and too much water rotting the roots. Usually 90% of the problems people have, individuals have, growing avocado trees is that they're looking at them every day, they are watering them every day, or putting too much fertilizer. That leads to a lot of problems when they're small. And when they are larger, they're a lot easier to maintain and to handle. But again, too much water will cause problems, rot on the roots, according to the soil that you're in. If you're like in California, that you have a lot of clay soil, it's very susceptible to root rot. In Florida, we have a rocky soil that drains very fast, but still, if you get 7 or 8 days of constant rain and some flooding, you start showing signs of root rot disease, and you really need to do something about it, like apply some fungicide or some microbe that would help with that problem.
Can you explain how Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard or the whitewash formula can benefit either a new tree or an established tree on a property?
Well, most of the advantages of that product, the organic whitewash, is to protect the tree from ultraviolet rays of the sun. And for example, you take a weather like we had this past summer. We had the hottest weather in history. I mean, we had days like 101 degrees,
Oh, wow.
90% humidity for a very long time. And if on that you add the sun, which will be hitting whatever side of the tree it's facing, it creates a very bad situation, which will cause burn on the avocado bark. I have trees, and I will show you some pictures that I have of trees that were sunburned 4 or 5 years ago. I have not done any top work tree of my trees. When you top work a tree, that you want to change variety, so you stump the tree, and that's the most dangerous time because the tree is totally defoliated and the sun is hitting the bark and it just burns it. So that product will help you. And this mango right here is a sample that I did, and I was able to successfully graft 12 varieties of different mangoes to one tree, because I decapitated it and immediately I painted it with the organic IV wash, and it was perfect. I had no burnt bark. Every shoot that I had was full of sap, very viable, and I was able to successfully use every shoot. When I mean water shoot, is the fresh sprout that comes out of the tree after stumping it or cutting it. So that was amazing. I have people that will come and look at my tree, friends, you know, friends that have interest in common, and they were all amazed at how well I was able to graft this tree in the middle of the summer without any branch burn or any dieback or of any bark.
No, that's a great story, and this is a very happy tree.
Oh, it is beautiful. And I don't spray this tree with much, so it's very healthy.
So you mentioned earlier in the lesson Laurel Wilt Disease. Most of us growing avocados have never heard the word. Can you explain what Laurel Wilt Disease is and how do we prevent it?
Laurel Wilt Disease is caused by an invasive species, Cellular ambrosia beetle. It's about 1 millimeter or less, that carries in his cheeks the pathogen. And as they drill a little gallery in the tree, they start injecting the fungus. Then they make a fungus garden where they lay their eggs or for their offsprings, and they feed from that. So it's great. I mean, it's a great creature developed by multi-millions of years of evolution. I mean, they carry their own hamburgers, basically. They carry their own food for their children, for their offsprings. So, but what happens is that this beetle comes from Southeast Asia, where the trees there, through evolution, have found and have immunity to that fungus. And they could have the beetles and the fungus and nothing happened to them. But in America, we don't have that resistance to that disease. And when the little beetles drill into the avocado and inject that fungus to start growing, it creates a tremendous reaction on the tree. It stops the sap of the movement of water in the tree, and the tree starts dying. That could happen in as little as 10 days. 10, 13 days from inoculation, the tree starts showing signs, and in 2 weeks it could be completely dead. So it is at this time the worst disease we have on the avocado world, with one exception, that is only now located as far as avocado trees in South Florida. As far as the wood forest trees, sassafras and red bay, it's all over the southeast. I mean, woods are totally being decimated by this beetle. Now, the beetle has been detected already in Texas, so it's moving towards California, and then if it turns to the south, it goes into the Mexican, Michoacan location, where most of the avocado production in the world is located. So it's a very bad pathogen. We didn't know how to handle it. it was South Florida was the first avocado production area hit by this beetle. It happened like 10 years ago, and we went crazy. We were trying everything, tree injections, fungus, fungicide. Nothing really worked. Now it's getting more stable, as we lost probably maybe 2,000-3,000 acres or more of avocado production in our area. So it's a lot of loss. We lost, like, our production was being cut in half in South Florida. But the growers that are remaining are handling it a little bit better. We have learned a lot how to handle it. It's a little expensive how to handle it. A lot of sanitation, what I call extreme sanitation. And we're gonna put up some of the video of what that entails. Big pieces of equipment, pulling trees, roots, and all. Wow. So, and what I have done that has helped me a lot, which I was not a big believer on it before, I kind of reduce my chemical in my growth. But the chemical sprays, as far as fungicide or insecticides, I have reduced by at least 70%. And I've also reduced my nitrogen fertilizer a lot, because everybody likes nitrogen. The good guys and the bad guys. It's like, you know, food. The bad guy eats hamburgers, the good guy eats hamburgers. Nitrogen is liked by everybody, the pathogens and the friendlies. Wow. So I reduced the nitrogen, and I seem to have stabilized everything a little bit, and I continue with my extreme sanitation, which is if I see a tree that starts to wilt, and I can confirm it's Laurel Wilt, I'll take it out, roots and all. And if I have too much activity in one area, I'll take not only the tree that's wilting, the tree that's fine next to it, because this fungus communicates through the roots. And by the time this is wilting, maybe the one next to it already has a root wilting, the wilt in the root, and it's coming and it to manifest itself. So not a lot of growers can pull out healthy trees. I mean, I even have a problem doing it, but I do it if I see it moving too fast in a row of trees. So that has helped, in conjunction with using a lot of organic products, live organic products. So now I treat my Phytophthora root rot with Bacillus subtilis instead of using commercial fungicides. Why? Why? When you apply a broad spectrum fungicide, it's like when you take antibiotics. It kills all your microbes in your gut. So you have to repopulate it again. So the same thing happens in a grove. If you apply broad spectrum fungicide, you kill the fungus, but then you also kill the friendly ones. So whenever you have no good people around, and you open the door to your house, you know what? All kinds of people can come in. So, and then the pathogens, and we have thousands of pathogens on our floor. I have nobody to control them. And then you're feeding them the extra nitrogen, and they're really happy. So I thought I would never feel this way with organics, but today, I don't care what happens, I don't think I would apply a broad spectrum fungicide in my growth. Doing this, I have been wilt free for 3 months. And at 12 months back, maybe 14, 16 months back, I was taking 10 to 15 trees a month. Wow. So I just had one tree in the last 3 months. So although my system is not scientifically proven, as I have a friend at the University of Florida, and she said, you got to replicate it 3 times. So I haven't replicated it one time.
Still too soon. And it's a new disease.
I think, for me, it works. If I lose one tree every 3 months, it's a piece of cake.
No, it makes sense. And I think a lot of us have understood the education and the value of organics in order to basically perpetuate, and you're basically feeding the soil biology, and you're, you know, improving the soil biology to the benefit of the tree, and that creates a good symbiosis compared to, again, using like an antibiotic that gets rid of all of the bad bacteria as well as all of the good that are important in the digestion and optimal health of the body. So that was an excellent explanation that you gave regarding antibiotics and just making sure that the organic way is probably the overall healthier way. And even though it's new, it's our first year in Laurel Wilt Disease for avocados, but you've already seen drastic changes in the orchard.
There is a place for chemicals, no question about it. If you really have a bad situation, how I started trying to clean it up, I use a couple of organic fungicides, of commercial chemical fungicides. And then I cleaned most of the big situation, and then I started using organic products, of light products, to build up the biome of the soil.
Makes sense. So my next question for you, Carlos, is relating to the soil. And we know, as you mentioned, over here we're dealing with sandy soil that, you know, compared to the challenges where I'm at now here in Los Angeles or Southern California, we're dealing with clay soils. And I know for us in California, a lot of newer growers think that clay is a bad thing. I know that there's value in clay, but I'm curious as to what are the benefits of growing in sandy soils versus clay, and I'll share my experiences as well.
We have two soils. What we have in Homestead is they call rocky crumb soil. It's a combination of coral rock crushed with organic matter. Then in up north, Central Florida, we have sandy soil with very little organic matter. So there is a difference between both soils. Our soil in Homestead, the chrome rocky soil, drains very fast. It's really good. But you do have to keep the hydration of the trees in mind, because you could get 4 inches of rain and then 4 days later they're dry, everything is dry. So that's something you have to take into consideration. But if you have a sandy soil, the same thing. The sand drains very fast. You have to irrigate the right amount and give enough room for the roots to dry up a little bit. Not that the tree will show stress, but that it dries and it pushes the roots to get the wet soil further down away from the sun. Most of the problems people have, like I said before, is putting too much water on their trees.
And then how about fertilizing? Now that it's also, you're dealing with sandy soils that leach faster than clay, what is the fertilizer routine?
Fertigate, apply your fertilizer with the water. Irrigation water is the ideal place, the ideal way. Fertigate little and frequent, but little, not a lot, that we will burn the roots.
Those are all very helpful tips. So it could be, the fertilizer could be part of every irrigation like that's applied.
But very little.
I know, low nutrients, and if you are fertilizing, less quantity but more frequently is of greater value, especially again in sandy soils where the fertilizers leach. So you're going to want to make sure that it's always readily available to the tree. Compared to, I just want to add now, for those of you living in a clay soil type like I am in Southern California, the clay naturally retains nutrients better and moisture better. And so when you go to water your trees, that water is going to stay around that plant longer, and with the nutrients around that plant longer than it otherwise would be in a sandy type soil. So those are just some of the benefits to keep in mind, even though you might be cursing your clay soil as you're digging that hole, preparing that planting hole for your tree. But there is benefits of clay, and one of the things I learned, if you want to add to it, is one of the ways to improve both sandy and clay soil types is by simply mulching around the tree, adding either wood chips or allowing, I know in the avocado orchard, there's a lot of leaves around each of the trees, and that all adds value to the tree too.
I get that naturally because the avocado trees change leaves every year. So right about this time, in about 4 weeks, all the old leaves would have dropped. And avocado roots basically stay in the top 6 inches of the soil. You will see a network of feeder roots, wide and supposed to be wide and healthy, and that's where they get most of their nutrients. They have some bigger tap roots, but the nutrients, they come in from the feeder roots, the little roots that are ready to pick up. That's why it's also important for these feeder roots just to get the water that they need. Don't overwater them. And also include, there's a lot of, today more and more biological products are coming into the market. No reason why you cannot put some trichodermas, Bacillus subtilis, or some of the other products out there that have microorganisms that establish a relationship with the tree. The tree will provide the microbes with some sugars, and then the microbes will provide the tree with metabolites, primary and secondary metabolites, that are really like a natural fungicide to protect the tree from diseases.
That's excellent. And before we leave the topic of nutrients, I also brought with me today a 4-pound bag of the Ivory Organics Super Blend Fertilizer, which gives your plants all 6 plant macronutrients, which include not just the NPK for nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, but also the magnesium, sulfur, and calcium. So plants have all the macronutrients in addition to azomite, which is crushed volcanic rock, to give the plants a lot of the micronutrient nutrition as well. I'd love for you to try it, and hopefully you share your feedback with us.
We'll feed this avocado tree with it.
Let's do it.
This mango tree with it.
So in regards to avocado varieties, I know for most of the people watching this across the country, the first avocado that comes to mind is the Hass avocado. And they're going to take that seed and they're going to plant it in their home, wherever they are in the United States. They could be in Nebraska or Ohio or New York, and they're planting that Hass avocado seed, and they're hoping to enjoy one day Hass avocados from that seedling. Can you explain, are they going to enjoy Hass avocados if they plant a Hass avocado seed? Yes or no, and explain why not.
Probably not. Avocado trees don't come through from seed. So if you plant the seed of a Hass, you may get something else, but you're not going. More than likely, you're not going to get an identical Hass. Especially openly pollinated trees, in which there are several varieties in the grove, could lead to all sorts of different things. So if you want an avocado tree, get a grafted one from a good nursery, and that will give you your best bet to really eat some avocados that are good from that tree. Don't waste your time planting seeds, because it could take 6 years for you to get fruit, and it will be very disappointed if after 6 years you get something that's not a Hass, that's terrible, doesn't taste good, it's got fiber. It will be a big disappointment. Then you have to call somebody, an expert, to cut the tree, stump it, and graft the water shoots with hopefully a variety that you would enjoy.
Yeah, and now you got a 6 or 7 year old tree, which is now thicker and more challenging to graft.
If you cut it, you got to put your paint, the organic paint on it, so it won't
as you
burn,
did here,
as I did with this tree.
No, that's excellent. And then again, when it comes to the orchard, the Hass avocado probably has, which is a type A avocado, probably has other type B avocados, which help improve fruit set. Overall, I know when it comes to avocados, they're self-fruitful, but having A and B types can improve production. I would love to hear what your percentage is, because some are low, like 5%, and other research says 25% more fruit production. What is your expertise with having A and B varieties?
I have tested that in my grove, and it does help. But it's funny, avocados are like people. You could have an A and a B, but they don't, for some reason, they just don't like each other. So it's like people, you know, you could have male and female, not everybody mates with everybody.
True.
You know? So the same thing with the avocado trees. They're very peculiar who they mate with. And I have the A's and B's, and then some of them don't like it. They just don't pollinate each other. But on the other hand, I have tried some B's that are really good pollinators all around, and all the other A trees around get maybe 20, 30, 40% more fruit than another variety. So
this leads to the million-dollar question. What are the B varieties that are leading to maximum fruit set on your A avocados?
The world of Hass is a different world, because Hass is a monoculture. Most of the avocados, commercial avocados in the world, are Hass. So sometimes they put like a bee flower, which is a bacon tree, which doesn't taste that good compared to us, but it helps on pollination. So for the homeowner, I think this whole conversation about A's and B is irrelevant, because if it's a good avocado trees, it's a good house, you're gonna get enough trees to consume at home. Unless you're going to be selling fruit, you don't have to worry about A and B. Most trees will pollinate themselves enough to give you a good production. It has also to do with the opening of the flowers and the A and B. If there are periods of time, like with this cooler weather, it really starts creating different schedules for the A's and B's. So there is a time when the A and B's are going to be open on the same tree, and that's what does the pollination. If you get an added one from a tree next to it, then it's even better, but it's not necessary. The question I get asked most by people is, how do I get a tree, a fruit tree, an avocado tree in Florida that tastes like Hass? Hass is like the standard banner of avocado. Everybody wants a Hass at home. I always tell them, don't waste your time. Go to the store and buy it. If you want a Hass, go to the store and buy it. They don't grow well here in Florida. I've been trying for 20 years to grow Hass varieties, lamb Hass, gem Hass, regular Hass, Carmen Hass, and all the Hasses. They don't ripen well. They taste terrible. They don't like our climate. They don't like our humidity. So if you want a Hass, don't look for one. There's a lot of hype in a lot of nurseries. They go, Florida Hass, terrible fruit. Now, every couple of years, some nursery comes up with a thing supposedly that tastes like Hass. None of it. It's either something else totally, or it will not ripen in Florida well, and you will not enjoy it. We do have avocados that will grow here base of the race. Avocado have races, you know. You got West Indies, Guatemalan, and Mexican. We have hybrids of Guatemalan and West Indies that grow very well here and taste very good. I have some in the family and friends section that are amazing avocados. Campon, Denise, we're eating at home right now, it's Semil 34. They're not commercial in Florida, so you gotta find yourself a tree of one of those varieties, and I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna be easy. Our main problem is, a question people ask me, why don't I get that in the store? Well, it's your own fault, because you're allowing grocery stores, like big chains, to label all the avocados we grow in Florida under one name. Green skin, Florida green. So it's like saying everybody in Florida is the same. No, we have people here from Michigan, from Maine, from New York, from Guatemala, from Venezuela, from Cuba. We got a lot of different people here. Same thing with avocados. We could grow probably 200 varieties of avocado. But the problem is that around October, from October on, our best varieties are around. We have varieties like Campon, delicious. I have a video on Campon avocado. I have another avocado, Denise. It's a lot of other fruit that is available, but what happened is, as a grower, I cannot grow it because the imports from Dominican Republic start coming in October, and they flood the market with fruit, and they want to pay $20 a bushel, and the packing house and Publix will go and buy it from the imported dealers and not buy it from us. So I cannot grow a late fruit because of the amount of time that it takes to maintain it and to feed it and to care for it at $20 a bushel. A bushel is 55 pounds. It costs me that to produce it, so I cannot grow the better fruit because the buyers from the chain stores won't pay me more, but they rather buy this fruit that comes from a container, very cold container, and avocados don't like cold containers for a very long time. That's why when they open some of this fruit, it's black inside.
Yep.
It's rotted. So it's a question that it's not a big volume for them to even care. But we have, what we're eating right now at home, the Semil 34 is just as good as any has. It's just bigger, nicer, it's just as good. But we consumers don't get to get locally produced Semil because they stopped growing them in Homestead years ago.
So I think you've already answered the question. For the people wanting that Hass avocado, which again is priced for, one thing is also its size. I know for shipping and its purposes, I was told the fact that it's smaller and rounder than other varieties of avocados is one of the things that adds value. But the other thing too, when it comes to taste, is the butteriness of it, the fat content, the nuttiness of it, the flavor. It's, you know, the texture. That's what makes it unique compared to the next variety of avocado. But you've already mentioned a few names that are your favorite. Which ones come, if you're looking for the Hass taste, which one comes closest for those living again in this climate?
Nothing, because the taste of Hass is unique. I'm not knocking down Hass. I love Hass. Sometimes when I don't have fruit, I go and buy Hass for my avocado toast. We eat avocados here every day. When I have avocados from my grove, we have avocados from my grove. We don't have, like soon, I'm getting into a period of time that I don't have any avocados. I will go to the store and buy Hass. However, I give you a tip. Never buy them at the store when they are already black. Buy them very green and ripen them in your counter. Because if they are black, you don't know how long have they been in the refrigerator. And a ripe avocado in the refrigerator leads to that black thing when you open it up that sometimes it's just disgusting. That's what happened. But if you get a very green and hard Hass from the store, then you let it ripen in your kitchen counter at 70 some degrees, then it's a beautiful, delicious fruit which makes great avocado toast.
One of my final questions for you, Carlos, is a lot of people here in this tropical weather of Florida, I know you also clarified more specifically here in Miami, it's subtropical, but a lot of questions I get in California from those living here in Florida is, we don't really experience winter. It's kind of spring and summer year round. Can you explain, do the trees in your orchard respond to the seasons?
Oh yeah, they do. They only have two seasons, a growing season and a dormant season. Not quite dormant, but entering now, like from, we're, let's say the mid-December to like February, the trees become dormant and they use that time to build the flower bud that's going to flower like now. At any time we're going to start seeing flowers in our groves. So, and then they drop all the leaves, and then they, you know, 4, 5, 6 weeks later they start flushing new leaves. So it's a very short dormant winter season, and the rest is all growing. That's what, if you feed them, they will grow. But I try to control the extra fertilizer. We'll see how this year goes, that I have dropped my nitrogen to levels of like maybe 40% of what I've used in the past.
Wow.
Time will tell.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience, Carlos?
Growing avocados or growing anything else, I believe that as we enter into a world that fungicides, insecticides are going to be more restricted by EPA. Just recently, the EPA came with, somebody filed a suit against EPA because they want to recertify some of the old insecticides to make sure they don't interfere with the certain species that are endangered. And in Europe, it's already happening. So the trend is going away from chemicals into more biological products. Start learning the use of biological products. In the last couple of years working with the University of Florida researchers, I have discovered that some of these microbes do wonderful things for your tree. we detected, for example, some of the trees that had Laurel Wilt were taking a long time to die. Usually, Laurel Wilt kill a tree in 2 weeks, done and out, done, cooked. But some of these trees had the disease, and a year we're still alive. So, working with some of the folks I work at the university, we checked those trees for something unusual. And we found there were trichodermas living inside the tree, endophytic trichodermas. So, and when later, and right now they're working on this research. Right now, they are testing some of those microbes, trichodermas specifically, against the pathogens in vitro. And they find that they work in vitro, some better than others. So if we can find an organism, either a microbe or a fungus, that could treat a disease specifically, why use broad spectrum insecticides and chemicals that kill everything? It kills good pollinators, kill good insects that eat other insects, like what is it, ladybugs. Yep. They eat other insects. But if you
mantis,
spray,
spiders,
you kill everything.
Yeah.
I remember, just tell you in closing, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I had a grove manager that said, you got to spray. I remember what it was. I'm not going to say the name of the product, so I don't get sued by someone. It started with an A. Okay. It's an insecticide. So we spray that for some mites or something that we had there. It's like you drop a nuclear bomb in my grove. Even the lizards die. Oh. I like to see spiders in my grove. When I see spiders on my trees, I know I have a balance. It killed the spiders, it killed everything. Months after that, I started getting hit by all kinds of different insects that were harmful. Yeah. So it was like a never-ending thing. Now, I can tell you now, today, I have not sprayed insecticides in my grove for at least 6 years.
That's fantastic.
And then you walk into the grove and you see spiders, you see lizards, you see bugs, but the trees are super, super healthy. I have no need for it. We're letting the woods creating their own balance. So
it's all natural. No, it's fantastic. It's a wonderful story. And again, thank you so very much, Carlos, for your time. For those of you that have questions, feel free to drop those in the comments below. What you liked best about today's lesson, about what you'd like to learn more about, and hopefully that inspires us, and the two of us will hopefully answer as many questions as you may have for us as well. As always, again, thank you so very much, Carlos. It's our pleasure. If you've enjoyed this lesson, be sure to give us that thumbs up, share us with your gardening friends and family, and keep growing with Ivory Organics, and always wishing you happy gardening.